In the profound teachings of my tradition, life is not seen as a straight line from birth to a single end. It is a great river, flowing through the vast landscape of what is called samsara, the endless cycle of becoming, unbecoming, and becoming again. It is understood that every consciousness, every soul, is a traveler on this river, moving through countless lives. With each life, like a boat gathering reflections on the water, it gathers karma, it learns what it must, and its essence is refined by the journey. However, the ancient wisdom tells us that for some, the river is nearing the great ocean. There are souls approaching their final incarnation, the culmination of their travels after eons of growth and awakening. If you find yourself watching this, perhaps it is not by chance, but by a deeper resonance. You may feel a stirring in the depths of your being, a quiet hum, a change in the current of your life that feels momentous. My tradition teaches that this final cycle is a rare and sacred passage. As a soul prepares to merge with the source, subtle yet potent signs begin to ripple across the surface of its existence. These signs are not loud announcements. They do not crash like waves upon the shore. They are quiet unfoldings, like a lotus blooming in a hidden pond. They arise as profound inner shifts, an emotional clarity that feels like a homecoming, or an intuitive knowing that whispers where words cannot reach. You might start to feel the pull of worldly currents lessen, while your heart attunes more deeply to the flow of life in others. You may even find wisdom bubbling up from within, like a spring from a source you cannot name. Here, we will explore 9 of these sacred ripples, these powerful currents that suggest you are journeying through your final reincarnation, the last lifetime before the river of your being meets the boundless ocean of nirvana. This wisdom may simply give name to what your soul, in its silence, has already begun to know. So I invite you to listen, not only with the mind, but with the whole of your being. Whether one sign or all 9 resonate, may you leave with a clearer sense of the landscape you are traveling and a deeper purpose for your journey, here and now. I invite you to prepare not just your mind, but your very heart for this exploration. If this path of inquiry resonates with you, I invite you to join our fellowship of travelers. Liking this transmission helps it find others who are thirsty, and subscribing ensures you do not miss the next step on our shared journey. 1. The path of the unmoored boat. A profound sense of detachment is one of the most powerful currents felt in a final life passage. But this is not the dead water of apathy or the emptiness of burnout. This is the detachment of a boat that has let go of its moorings. It floats freely, not because it is lost, but because it trusts the river. It is the deep, cellular understanding that everything in the world of form, status, belongings, even relationships and peak experiences, is as transient as the morning mist. This does not mean you cease to care. Rather, you begin to care from a place of deep freedom, a love that does not need to cling, to control, or to fear the ever-changing tides. In my tradition's wisdom, true detachment is not about turning away from the world, but about seeing it with perfect clarity, without the distortions of attachment. As the soul nears the end of its long pilgrimage, it begins to remember that its true nature is not defined by anything outside of itself. The dramas, the ambitions, the conflicts that once felt like powerful storms now feel like ripples passing through a vast and still body of water. This is the source of unshakable peace. You accept the river's twists and turns because you see them as the unfolding of a great, universal story. This is the state that enlightened beings describe: to witness without becoming entangled, to love without needing to possess, and to live without the fear of ending. You may feel like the silent observer of your own life, watching the scenes unfold with a gentle curiosity instead of being consumed by them. Those around you may notice your calm in the storm, your centered presence. They may call you wise beyond your years. This is because your soul is remembering its many journeys and knows its return to the source is near. This profound detachment is not coldness. It is the warmth of pure presence, utterly free. When your sense of self is no longer tangled in the net of ego, labels, or outcomes, you taste the first drop of true liberation. If this stillness feels familiar, more like a vast, quiet sky than a fleeting cloud, your soul may be whispering this is your final journey home. 2. The path of the thirsty root. Another potent sign of a final incarnation is an irresistible pull toward your inner source, true spirituality. This is not the collecting of beliefs or the following of dogma. It is the deep thirst of a root for water, an innate craving to connect with the source of your own being in a way that is personal and deeply transformative. Those in their final life cycle often feel this thirst from a young age. While others were occupied with the world of forms, you may have been asking the questions that arise from the formless. Why are we here? What is the nature of this existence? What is the purpose behind the dance of joy and sorrow? These are not trivial questions. They are the rumblings of an awakening soul. This spiritual pool is like a river's unerring journey to the sea. You may explore many tributaries, meditation, mindfulness, ancient texts, the silent wisdom of nature, but the direction is always inward. You are not seeking more information. You are seeking an experience of the real, the eternal wellspring. You may have traversed the dark night of the soul, a period where the world felt barren, a desert that forced you to dig for water within your own heart. And there, you found a peace that the world could not give. In the language of my tradition, this is a sign that your karmic debts are nearing completion, and the soul is yearning to return to its original nature. You might also sense that your inner energy becomes more vibrant in quiet places, in nature, in silence, in the presence of the sacred. The noise of superficiality may feel draining, not because you are antisocial, but because your inner frequency is changing. You are no longer attuned to the dissonant chords of ego and materialism. You are beginning to resonate with the pure tones of truth and presence. This spiritual magnetism is not a logical choice. It feels like a homecoming, a remembering of a truth you have always known, but had forgotten. And that is what it is. As the old teachings tell us, when a soul nears the end of its journey, it starts to remember its true nature, pure awareness, beyond the cycles of beginning and end. If you feel your life's current pulling you ever inward, listen. That is more than mere curiosity. That is your soul preparing to merge with the ocean. 3. Dreams of passage. Dreams are often seen as fleeting mist. Yet in the ancient wisdom traditions, they are revered as windows into the soul's deeper knowing. They can be messengers from our subconscious, carrying truths from beyond the veil of our waking mind. For a soul in its final cycle, one of the most vivid signs can be recurring dreams that speak of transition, dreams of death, of spiritual rebirth, or moments of lucid awakening that feel more real than life itself. These are not fearful nightmares. They often possess a serene and mysterious quality. You might dream of dying, not with terror, but with a profound sense of acceptance and release. You might see yourself as pure light, walking through a celestial gate, or sitting in meditation beneath a tree of wisdom, where a guide tells you, it is almost time. These dreams are not mere symbols. They are direct communications from your soul, bypassing the logical mind. In my tradition, death is not an ending but a transformation, a doorway. To dream of it with tranquility signifies the soul's readiness for a great liberation, not from life, but from the cycle of rebirth itself. Others in this final passage experience lucid dreams, where they become conscious creators within the dreamscape. In this state, they may seek profound truths, meditate with clarity, or travel to realms of pure light. You may awaken from such dreams with a feeling of ineffable peace, or a sense that you have touched the eternal. These nocturnal journeys are deeply personal. They are like a private teaching, a story unfolding in chapters only you can read. It is as though your deepest self is gently attuning you to the truth of your coming freedom, reminding you there is nothing to fear. The ego may resist, but the soul knows its release is near. If you have had such dreams, vivid, meaningful, and recurring, related to passages, to light, or to guides from a realm beyond, you are not merely dreaming. You are remembering. and these memories may be your soul's final preparations for its flight from the wheel of samsara. 4. The eye of the storm. Have you ever stood in the center of a storm, feeling a deep stillness while chaos whirls around you? While others are swept up in panic and fear, do you find yourself abiding in a place of unshakable peace? This is not numbness or denial. It is the deep, abiding calm that is a hallmark of a soul in its final cycle of life. My tradition teaches that enlightenment is not about escaping the world's storms, but being fully present within them, untouched by their turbulence. Most beings are like leaves in the wind, their emotions rising and falling with every challenge life presents. But when a soul has journeyed through countless seasons, something profound shifts. The storms of the world no longer have power over you. You begin to respond from your center, rather than react from your periphery. You feel life deeply, yet you are no longer a prisoner of your feelings. This profound peace might feel strange at first. You may ask yourself, why am I not in turmoil like everyone else? But this is not a deficiency. It is a sign of your soul's maturity, having weathered innumerable storms across many lifetimes, dramas of loss, gain, and attachment. It simply refuses to be thrown about any longer. You may find that others are drawn to your calm. They seek your presence in their times of crisis, not because you have easy answers, but because your energy itself speaks of something deeper, a quiet clarity, and a profound trust in the flow of life. This inner peace blossoms from surrender. You no longer need to control the river of life. You trust its course. Even when the journey is painful, you see it as part of a sacred teaching, a lesson your soul chose for its own unfolding. When you have found this place of peace, it is often because your soul has released its resistance. You no longer fight the current. Instead, you breathe with it. You flow with it. You witness it from a place of deep stillness. This quality of peace is not built in a day. It is earned over lifetimes. And when it arises from within you, naturally and without effort, it may be the most powerful signal of all that your journey through the cycle of becoming is drawing to a beautiful close. 5. The old tree in a young forest. Do you feel as though you are an ancient tree standing in a young forest? Have you always been told you possess a wisdom that seems to defy your years on this earth? This inner sense of being an old soul is a significant clue that you are nearing the completion of your great cycle of rebirth. This feeling is more than mere maturity. It is a deep, resonant knowing of having been here before, many times over. You may look upon the landscape of human life, its joys, sorrows, desires, and heartbreaks, with a feeling of profound familiarity, a sense of déjà vu for the entire human condition. It is as if you are walking a familiar path, but simply in a new pair of sandals. An old soul is naturally introspective. You find yourself drawn to the inner world, contemplating purpose, truth, and the nature of being, far more than the external world of achievement. You value deep connection over surface level popularity, inner wisdom over accumulated facts, and the richness of presence over the busyness of productivity. This is not something you learned from a book. It is a wisdom you remembered from within. Old souls carry the energy of their many journeys. You may feel a deep weariness with the superficial games of the world, the shallow conversations, the relentless pursuit of more, the endless noise. These things fail to nourish you because your soul has tasted them in countless forms and knows they are not the true source of sustenance. You crave the deep water of truth, the spaciousness of silence, the nourishment of peace. This ancient feeling can also bring a unique sense of solitude. Not the loneliness of being without others, but a kind of cosmic homesickness, a quiet knowing that this world is a beautiful inn, but not your ultimate home. You walk through life with a compassionate heart, yet beneath it all hums a quiet whisper. The journey is almost complete. Others may not understand this quiet depth. They might mistake it for being distant. But you know the truth: your soul has simply outgrown the smaller games of this world. You are not above anyone. You are simply further down the same path, and you have learned that true wealth is found not in power, but in peace. If this resonates, if you have always felt older than your years and wiser than your experiences, your soul is likely whispering its most sacred truth. This is the final return. 6. The overflowing spring. One of the clearest signs of a soul in its final passage is a boundless desire to be of service, to help others. This flows not from a sense of duty or a wish for praise, but from a profound soul-level calling. It is the simple need to ease the suffering you encounter, because you feel the interconnectedness of all beings in your very bones. In the wisdom of my tradition, compassion, karuna, is the highest expression of a soul's maturity. When a soul approaches the end of its karmic path, this compassion radiates from it as naturally as light from the sun. You may find that helping others is not a choice you make, it is simply who you are. Whether it is through lending a listening ear, offering your unique gifts, or simply holding a space of peace for another, you feel most aligned with your true self when you are giving. This is not to say that serving is always easy. You may feel tired, even heartbroken by the pain of the world. But even in your weariness, there is a deep sense of rightness, of fulfillment. Something within you knows that every act of selfless kindness helps to untie the final threads of karma that bind you to the wheel of rebirth. You might also notice that people are naturally drawn to you, sharing their deepest troubles, as if they instinctively trust your heart. Strangers may unburden themselves, and friends may call you a safe harbor. This is not by accident. Your energy itself has become a sanctuary of peace, a quiet lighthouse for others in their storm, because your own soul has sailed those same seas. What is most revealing is that you find your deepest joy not in what you acquire, but in what you can offer. The old lures of status and personal gain lose their flavor. Your appetite is for meaning, healing, and connection. This change in values is not a shift in personality, it is the blossoming of soul maturity. In my tradition, one who reaches this state is said to embody the Bodhisattva spirit, a being who returns not for themselves, but to help uplift all others until every being is free. If you feel this is your final life, the desire to serve feels like completing a sacred mission. With every selfless act, you are taking a step closer to the shore of liberation. 7. Seeing through the mask of ego. One of the most liberating signs that your soul is nearing the end of its great journey is the ability to see the ego for what it is, a beautiful, temporary mask, but not your true face. This does not mean you lose your personality or sense of identity. It means you cease to be a prisoner of them. You begin to watch the story of your life unfold, rather than being swept away by its every dramatic turn. In the wisdom teachings, the ego is the false self, a collection of beliefs, fears, roles, and desires that creates the powerful illusion that we are separate. Most beings live their entire lives caught in this play, seeking approval and fearing criticism, identified completely with their role. But when a soul has played many roles over many lifetimes, it begins to awaken to a profound truth: the actor is not the part it is playing. You may notice you are less shaken by criticism. The need to win, to be right, to defend your story simply falls away. Achievements feel good, but they do not define your worth. Painful memories arise, but you see they are just clouds passing through the vast sky of your awareness. They are not the sky itself. This awakening is often a gradual dawning. You begin to witness your own thoughts with a gentle curiosity. You start to ask, who is aware of this thought? Who is feeling this emotion? In the silent space that follows that question, a pure awareness emerges, an awareness that is free, boundless, and at peace. That awareness is your true self. This is what the teachings call pure consciousness, the aspect of you that is timeless and formless. Once you have tasted this awareness, even for a moment, the spell of the ego is broken forever. You begin to see others with new eyes as well. You recognize their anger, their pride, their fear as the movements of their own ego, their own mask. Instead of judgment, you feel compassion, because you remember when you too were lost in that illusion. Seeing through the ego is not just spiritual practice, it is a sign of nearing homecoming. The soul that no longer clings to the story of me is a soul standing on the precipice of boundless freedom. When the mask fully dissolves, only the radiant light of your true nature remains. 8. The path of simplicity. In a world that ceaselessly chants the mantra of more things, more status, more noise, one of the quietest yet clearest signs of a soul in its final cycle is a deep and abiding turning away from materialism. You simply lose your thirst for accumulating things and cease to measure your worth by external markers. Your deepest longing is for the inner riches of simplicity, truth, and peace. From the perspective of the ancients, grasping or attachment is the very root of suffering, and materialism is a form of deep attachment to an identity built on things, to a comfort that is always fleeting, to a sense of control over a world that is fundamentally uncontrollable. When a soul has journeyed lifetime after lifetime chasing these shadows, wealth, status, beauty, it eventually awakens to the nature of the chase itself. It sees it as a profound distraction from what is real. You may feel increasingly like a stranger in a world driven by consumption. The endless cycles of acquiring and discarding, the constant clamor for attention and validation, none of it feels nourishing to your soul anymore. A sense of quiet sadness may even arise as you watch others chase these fleeting pleasures, not from a place of superiority, but from a place of deep empathy, for you remember the time when you also believed those things could bring lasting happiness. Your inner compass recalibrates. You find yourself choosing meaning over objects. You are drawn to the solace of nature over the thrill of nightlife, the depth of a quiet conversation over the distraction of a crowded party, the grace of being present over the strain of performing. This does not mean you must live as an ascetic, but your relationship with the world of form changes profoundly. You may use things, but you are no longer used by them. Your goals become heart-centered. Instead of seeking to be important, you seek to be authentic. Instead of climbing the ladder of success, you choose to walk the path of inner peace. That turning is a sign of a soul that is preparing to transcend the worldly game entirely. This rejection of materialism is the blossoming of wisdom. You realize that peace is not something you can purchase or achieve. It is something you uncover by clearing away all that is not essential, all the noise and illusion of a world built on forgetting. When you no longer crave what others crave, when outer success no longer pulls you away from inner peace, and when you understand that to be rich is to be full of presence, then you know your soul has almost completed its journey. 9. The river smells the sea. The final and perhaps most subtle sign that you are in your last incarnation is not a sign at all, but a deep, formless knowing. It is a quiet certainty, rooted in the very core of your being, that this lifetime is the final chapter in the great book of birth and death. This knowing is not a thought or an intellectual conclusion. It is a whisper from your soul, a gentle yet unshakable presence that grows more palpable with time. In my tradition's cosmology, this stage comes when a soul has absorbed the essential wisdom from its long journey through samsara, the cycle of rebirth driven by craving and illusion. Now, it stands poised on the shore of liberation, or nirvana, ready to dissolve its separateness and merge with the source. This knowing is carried on a current of profound peace. Even when facing life's inevitable storms, you find yourself abiding in the present moment, filled with a gratitude and acceptance that feel otherworldly. The impulse to cling to your identity, to your relationships, to the dramas of the world, begins to gently release because your soul understands their transient nature. It can feel like a sacred homesickness, not for any place on this earth, but for your true home in the realm of spirit. It is as if your soul remembers a state of boundless, unconditional love and light that awaits your return. This deep knowing can manifest as a total surrender to the flow of life and death. The fear of dying dissolves, replaced by a gentle curiosity, an embrace of the great transition as a return to your true nature. You might even feel moments of quiet joy when you contemplate this final crossing, rather than dread. Some describe this as a feeling of sacred wholeness. Your external life may not be perfect, but you feel complete. You recognize that every single experience, every joy and every sorrow, was a perfect preparation for this final moment of freedom. If you feel this deep, quiet, unshakable knowing that your soul is not returning, see it as a profound gift. It means your great journey is approaching its most glorious destination. You stand at the threshold of liberation, ready to awaken fully beyond the dream of separation and rebirth. To recognize these 9 currents within you is not an exercise of the mind. It is a deep invitation from your soul to awaken more fully. The wisdom of my tradition reminds us that all of life is a sacred pilgrimage of growth, remembrance, and ultimate liberation. If these signs resonate, the unmoored detachment, the thirst for the spiritual source, the dreams of passage, the eye of the storm, the feeling of the ancient tree, the overflowing spring of service, the seeing through of the ego, the path of simplicity, and the deep knowing of your return, you may be standing at the gateway of your final passage. This is a precious and rare moment in the soul's long journey. It is an opportunity to live with a heightened sense of awareness, a boundless compassion, and a profound purpose. Instead of fearing the journey's end, you are invited to embrace it as the true beginning of ultimate freedom, the release from the endless cycles of becoming and unbecoming. Your path has been long and filled with immeasurable richness, filled with lessons that have polished your soul into a radiant gem. Now is the time to live fully in the light of the present moment, to deepen your practice, and to prepare your heart for the boundless freedom that awaits. I invite you, in the space below, to share the stories and resonances from your own journey. Let your light become a beacon for other travelers. If this wisdom has served you, I invite you to pass it along to another soul who you feel may need it. Our exploration together will continue, and if you wish to walk this path with us, please join our community. May your steps be light upon the earth, and may your heart be as vast and as open as the sky.